Okay, you started out with a house that started at what price?
680.
680, with how much down?
It was
70 down.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a single family house, deed of trust, you first put it in contract, PSA. At 680 was 70 down. Right? You went and looked at it. You looked at comps, you got rapport with the seller. Did you ever meet the seller live?
I haven't.
You never met the seller live, right? Okay, but through conversations, comps, and bringing it back to reality of what the price of the property should be, you negotiated a 580 with 30 down contract, which was fully enforceable and fully valid, right?
Yep.
Okay. We then decided to hold it up to the world, and we found a buyer, partner, assignee that said, yes, I will take it. At the same time, Robert was trying to negotiate the price again, lower than 580, because that price appeared to still be above retail value. And got him almost to a yes, and then the guy had second thoughts.
Well, we got the down payment down. So we were at 70, we dropped it down to 30.
Right, okay. So you're saying we had 580 with 70 down?
And then we dropped it down to 580 with 30 down.
Of which he signed.
Of which he signed.
But then you were trying to go back and renegotiate the price again for a fourth time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just following the train. We're not finding fault, we're just going facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Right? Remember that show? What show was that? 60s or 70s show.
Which it was signed by the buyer at 580.
Okay, it is signed at 580 with 30, a fully enforceable addendum that went to escrow. Okay. At that moment, we started talking about this person about paying 580 plus 30 to us and 30 down. Correct? That was the conversation. And he knew that was the fact. Okay. There was a typo in the first assignment agreement that went out, which was later corrected to a new contract assignment agreement with this person for 580 with 30 down plus 30 to us. Correct? And at that moment, he wired in earnest money and 30K assignment fee. Right? Am I right on the facts right there?
He actually wired it in before he corrected it.
Wired it in what?
He wired the money in before we corrected the assignment.
Correct. So he saw first one, then it was corrected to the non-typo number. Okay. Is it my information that at that point, once he committed, he then personally started talking to the seller?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So with this, here's where I'm going with, because this is where I want you to learn in the world of sourcing properties. We have a perfectly valid PSA. We have a Super Bowl ticket which we gave, paid, contracted, sold to a third party. Okay? So let me do it this way. Let me do it the first way. We assign it, he writes us a check for 30 grand, he puts up earnest money, and at that moment he goes to his network and he finds very honest Izzy and tells him, I got you this good one, it's $650,000. Izzy's like, great, how much do I need? He's like, well, I need 70 here and I need 10 earnest money. He's like, great, I got it. He wires him 70 grand and the ticket goes to Izzy, who's the new buyer. Okay? Perfectly legal and valid, right? Tickets are resold all the way up the ladder till kickoff time of the Super Bowl. Starts at 1,000, goes to 5,000, goes to 8,000, goes to 12,000, goes to 18,000. And then 2 minutes after Super Bowl, how much is it worth?
Zero.
Zero. Tickets expire. So just like PSAs, contracts expire. So at that point, Izzy owns the contract. Okay. We're good there? Okay. So for whatever reason, Izzy wakes up that morning and says, what's the owner's name? Mr. Smith. What's Mr. Smith's phone number? It's on the PSA. Hi, Mr. Smith, this is Izzy. I'm purchasing your house. Great. I thought Sally was. No. Steve wasn't. No. I own the PSA right now. That's a bit confusing, but you can get over that hurdle, right? And Izzy goes, you know what? I don't like seats on the 20-yard line. I really want to sit on the 50-yard line, and I'm paying 50-yard line prices. I'd like to renegotiate the contract. What happens? Huh?
Shit gets funky.
Well, Mr. Smith is now really fucking confused because he thought he was dating me, ended up with him, he ended up with him, and then she shows up. Who, what, what? Okay. And so, what does Mr. Smith do?
Scared.
He gets scared. Because he's like, your house is a piece of shit, I'm not paying that for it. I want to negotiate it down. Based on my walkthrough, based on my tour, based on comps. Okay. You have a ticket, you've paid for it, it's been paid for twice. What happens if you fuck it up? What happens is if you piss him off and scare him so much that he says, I'm not even going to do the deal. What happens?
Deal.
Who loses the deal?
We lose the deal.
Huh?
We lose the deal.
We don't own the deal.
Oh.
I sold it to Dennis, who sold it to Izzy. I don't own it. We have no contractual obligation. But Izzy fucked it up because he ran in there and punched the guy in the face, kicked him in the nuts, and told him he was all fucked up and he wanted a better deal.
Then the seller loses the deal.
The seller loses the deal. The seller has decided, this is too complex, I just don't want to do the deal. Is the contract enforceable is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Contract is fully enforceable. What happens when people sign PSAs that they no longer want to perform on? You just say, okay, sorry? Huh? Who loses the earnest money? Why would the buyer lose the earnest money? It's the seller that doesn't want to perform. Fuck you, I'm closing. Huh?
Can't the seller get sued for
For what?
not performing?
Specific performance. So what happens when a seller says, you know what, I got a better offer. Jake walked in and offered me $700 for the property. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm taking Jake's offer. It's called seller's remorse. Another guy shows up the next day and wants to buy it for more money. So now what do?
Remind him he already signed a contract.
Huh?
Remind him he already signed a contract. with
Correct. Make sure it's fully enforceable. Check all the dots, I's, T's, cross. Okay, then in our agreement with buyer one, it says, number 4, payment or refundability of assignment fee. The assignment fee is refundable within 20 days of the scheduled closing date on the PSA if seller fails to close through no fault of buyer or assignee. Did you hear that one? Okay. So did we do anything wrong? But you went in and kicked him in the nuts. Okay. Assignee acknowledges that the assignment fee is refundable by assigner only if this transaction fails to close due to the default of the seller, provided, however, assignee has the right to specific performance under the purchase and sale agreement and shall reasonably pursue efforts to seek specific performance or other legal remedies against seller as a condition precedent to receiving a refund of the assignment fee. Okay? So Izzy says, now the seller won't close because I kicked him in the nuts and screamed at him. I want my money back. Dennis, you giving him his money back?
I'm not legally obligated to.
I don't know. There's a contract between you and him. I'm not privy to that.
According
Because
to that
this was a double assignment.
According to that contract, no.
Okay, so so now I've done it with 2. Now 1 removed. Your assignee is saying, give me my fucking money back. Is it our fault? Has he sought specific performance? No.
No.
So until he sues, we're not giving him his assignment back.
We have done nothing wrong.
So in no case, in this scenario where the seller's fucking the deal up, in no case does the new buyer get his assignment back from us.
An assignment agreement is fully refundable if the ticket we sold him is invalid or a court rules that the ticket was not valid. Is he just waking up, or Dennis just waking up and saying, you know what, I don't want to fucking do the deal anymore? They don't get their money back. So it's a very fine line of helping assignees and not shooting yourself in the foot by trying to be nice or helping them. Because in reality, the more you try to help them, the more you're hurting yourself. Okay? Because, you have to think of it this way, and I took it to the second chair example to make it clearer. If Dennis bought the ticket and then he sells it to Izzy, and then the whole chain unravels, I sold the ticket. Then you guys went and tried to modify it. You confused the fuck out of the seller. You tried to modify it some more. You kicked him in the nuts. You got him scared. And then you're telling me it's my fault. You with me? Anyone got me? Riley, there's an Amazon guy trying to find you. If you want to go read him at the door, back in the back. Okay? So, this is the hard part to understand in the world of assignments. Why assignees are your customers, they're not your clients. You're not at their service like a broker. Now, you will tell them up front and point it out. Look, if you want to go renegotiate this after I assign this, you do so at your own peril. Meaning, if the seller fucking gets cold feet, you are liable for it. Don't come back to me and say, I want my money back, or now I scared the seller and the seller won't close. Okay? So in this situation, we will jump back to just a one-off assignment. At this moment, the seller is posturing they don't want to do the deal of which they signed with us. Okay? So, it's not, we don't own it. We can't be communicating with escrow or the assignee or the seller about the ticket. We sold the ticket. It's like selling stock. I don't own this share of Amazon anymore. Robert owns the fucking share. I can't speak on Robert's half what he wants to do with his share, what he's doing with it. I have no legal rights to have that conversation. Now, where it gets blurred is you might have a repeat client, or you might have a repeat assignee or partner or somebody, and you want to try and help. So you would say, I'll reach out to the seller, see if I can talk some sense into him. That can help sometimes, but at the same time it can hurt you legally. Okay? So in this situation...
How so?
Huh?
How so?
Because you legally don't have the authority to speak to escrow or the seller anymore. You don't own the position.
But even if you talk to the buyer of your assignments,
Your assignee. Now that's a relationship between your... Now, you can talk to him about the contract, which is, Paul, you bought the contract. I refer you to the assignment agreement. I also refer you to number 4 of the assignment agreement that says, and please read it, you need to go enforce this agreement. But I don't want to. I'm sorry. That's what the contract says. Okay? Now, in a polite world, when you're doing a lot of transactions, let's say you assigned it, and then the next week the guy comes back and goes, for whatever reason, I don't want to do it. Non-legally binding, you could say, I will see if we want to still buy it, or if I can put somebody else in your position and get you covered. Now, I'm going to charge to do that, because I already did the deal once, now you want me to fucking do it again. So if I got to go find another buyer, I'll do what I can, but no guarantees. You are legally obligated to this agreement.
You'll charge the assignee, right? If you go-
Well, we might put it out there and say the fee's 35, get him 30, take 5 for our time. You got to rework. You got to do the same fucking work all over again. In that sense, you're just trying to help him, but you're not legally obligated to do so. Okay? You see where this gets confusing? Because when you are wholesaling deals, people will sell the ticket 3 or 4 times, then just like somebody did yesterday because of an advertisement, showed up at the door, fucking started pounding on it, scared the fucking tenants, and then the seller calls, what the fuck?
what deal was this?
Huh?
What deal was this?
We got plenty of deals. I'm just saying, that's what fucking happens. Okay? Anytime you tell people about a property off market, they just barge up and start knocking on the door like they own the fucking place. Yeah? And they look like jargon, very untrustworthy, creepy, fucking scare the shit out of them. It's 11 o'clock at night, right? You're like looking in the windows.
That's what I do.
You know you have a restraining order for many playgrounds, so.
No comment.
Just
No
kidding,
comment.
That's long expired, right?
So how do we,
That's out of Horrible Bosses. Come on, it's a joke out of Horrible Bosses. I was just peeing, God. What is he?
is there
See, I
anything-
lost it now.
is there anything else we can do to avoid this in the future, or?
The hardest part, and this is the hard part about doing seller financing, assigning seller financing, and then continuing to hit a older, meaning someone who's retired, owned the property for a long time, doesn't do a high volume of real estate transactions, hitting them over and over and over and over again on the head for modifications will get them to retreat. It won't get them to agree to you.
I actually have a lot of inside information on this.
Yeah?
What happened, well, the daughter got involved and she is concerned that it's a scam, that when the parents die, all the equity goes to the person who bought it seller finance.
That's not true.
Yeah, but she
relayed
thinks
that.
that,
Huh?
We've relayed that multiple times.
yeah, but was she,
Any attorney will tell them
I
that's
think
not
she
true.
just got greedy because the house was supposed to go to her after parents die and she's gonna get all the funds. And so she's actually trying to destroy the deal.
She's
so-
trying to torpedo the deal.
And it was all her. The parents are still okay to proceed and everything's fine. She just came out kicking and screaming. There's liars, there's sellers, a guy from China here coming here to scam us, all et cetera, et cetera. So,
Because he spoke Chinese during one of their walkthroughs.
Yeah.
She was convinced it was a scam.
Okay,
So-
well, again, I get blamed for all this, and it's not even my fucking deal. I've never talked to the seller, I've never talked to the assignee, I haven't been involved in any of these conversations, and yet I get fucking blamed for it. So, at this point, you either have to completely stay out of it and let Paul decide what he's going to do, and then that's a separate contractual agreement between us and Paul. Which at that point, we would say, I refer you to the agreement, right? And then he's going to contend, well, it wasn't a valid PSA. It was a valid PSA. So what he should have done and what he should do, if I were going to coach him, is, does he want to close?
I had coached him on that.
Huh?
I coached him on that.
Is tender fund to close, ask to sign to close, tell escrow officer you're ready to close, and close. If the seller doesn't close,
they didn't show up at the closing.
huh?
They didn't
They
show up at
didn't
the
show
closing.
But did he sign?
He signed everything, they didn't show up.
Okay, so then he should move for specific performance, and it's pretty black and white.
He said his attorney told him.
That's his choice.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. This has been an ongoing, and that's why at this point I was like, you have all the information you need, you have everything, and that's where you are at the moment, so.
Okay, so to try, and this is where I politely say, from years of experience, if you'd like to try and help the assignee, do so by phone, because everything you write in email or text can and will be used against you. But Robert told me this. Okay?
I stay vague.
Yes, only phone calls.
So selling Super Bowl tickets, they get sold many times, they go up the ladder, somebody screws it up, somebody fucks up the whole thing, and it all comes back to handling your sellers with respect, dignity, making sure they understand what they're doing, but you can't go beat them up multiple times. And so, once we assign a transaction, and I say this to sellers, or assignees all the time, if you want the property, the closing extended, something changed, I'm happy to do that. If you want to fundamentally change the terms of this contract, you're welcome to do so, but at your own peril. If you scare, frustrate, or torpedo the seller's perception or legal position, you're doing so at your own peril. Okay? And I've seen guys beat the shit out of sellers. Okay? I've assigned deals and they've gone back in on $300,000 houses and offered them 150 cash and got them to do it.
Well,
That's your choice. If that's how you want to do business, that's your business. It's not my business. So, but you can't go in and tell them you're only going to pay 150 and they freak out and don't want to perform in the contract. That's not my fault. So, okay? Good job, Mr. Young.